What if the most powerful man in the world was also quietly cashing in while you weren't watching? Raymond Cole had spent 30 years as a government ethics attorney in Washington, D.C. He had seen corruption. He had seen backroom deals. But nothing, prepared him for the Tuesday morning a whistleblower slipped an envelope under his office door. Inside, excerpts from federal financial disclosure filings, 3 months of transactions, over 3,700 individual stock trades, connected to the orbit of one man, the sitting president of the United States. Raymond sat down slowly. His coffee went cold. He recognized the pattern immediately. Companies Trump had publicly praised at rallies. Sectors he had boosted through executive orders signed days, sometimes hours later. Stock prices that climbed the moment a presidential tweet landed, and trades that had been executed just before all of it. The numbers told a story the press conferences never would. 3,700 trades, hundreds of millions of dollars, a 3-month window, and a pattern that looked less like coincidence and more like a system. Raymond pulled up CNBC. The headline confirmed it. Financial filings revealed more than 3,700 transactions over just 90 days. Critics were already calling it an egregious violation of every presidential norm ever established to avoid conflicts of interest. But Raymond knew something the headlines didn't. The law around presidential financial disclosure was a labyrinth. The Stock Act, passed in 2012, required members of Congress and certain executive officials to disclose trades within 45 days. But the president himself? The rules were murkier than most people realized. And murkier rules meant murkier accountability. He called an old colleague, a securities law professor named Dr. Elaine Marsh at Georgetown. She picked up on the first ring. "You've seen the filings," Raymond said. "Everyone's seen the filing," she replied. "The question is whether anyone's going to do anything about it." The silence between them carried the weight of 30 years in Washington. Here's what was really happening beneath the surface. The companies involved were not random. Tech firms tied to AI regulation debates, energy companies directly affected by EPA rollbacks, defense contractors positioned to benefit from renegotiated NATO commitments, and pharmaceutical companies under scrutiny from newly proposed drug pricing legislation that curiously stalled right after certain positions were taken. The architecture of the trade suggested advanced knowledge, not proof, but architecture. Raymond spent the next 72 hours building a timeline. Every public statement, every executive order, every social media post matched against the disclosed trades. The correlations were undeniable. Critics weren't just calling it unethical. Several constitutional scholars were raising the word most Washington insiders still refuse to say out loud. Emoluments, the financial entanglement of a sitting president with private markets, using the power of the office to influence those markets, was territory the founders had specifically tried to wall off. But it was 2025, and the walls look different now. Dr. Marsh published an op-ed in The Atlantic. She cited specific trades, specific dates, specific speeches. The piece went viral overnight. The White House called it a political hit job. Wall Street said nothing publicly, but Raymond's sources told him the hedge funds were watching with great interest. Because if a sitting president could move markets with words and then profit from that movement, that was either the most dangerous precedent in modern financial history or the most sophisticated market strategy anyone had ever seen. Raymond drafted his formal complaint to the Office of Government Ethics. He filed it on a Thursday afternoon. By Friday morning, his office had received 3 separate calls from different Washington law firms suggesting he reconsider. He did not reconsider. The story was bigger than one attorney, bigger than one filing. It was the story of what happens when the most powerful economic lever in the world, the presidency of the United States, is operated without a firewall between power and profit. 3,700 trades. The market knew, the filing showed, and now so did you. The question was never whether someone would investigate. In Washington, someone always investigates. The real question was, who, if anyone, had the power to make it matter? Subscribe to Aurum Mind for more.